Hello everyone, welcome to the stream. Thank you all for coming today. I hope you all are doing well. This is my third live stream of a series of 5 videos that I'm doing, though I think I'm going to do more live streams at the end of my videos to further discuss them. So I hope you all have enjoyed them, and I hope that they're all very good for you and that you can learn a lot from it and we can discuss things that you may have questions about so we can both learn. So, welcome everyone for coming today. We're going to discuss the most recent topic that I did, which was about transhumanism. And for those of you who are not familiar with this topic, it is essentially a merger of humans and technology. And this is something that we can see it in our everyday life. More and more people are becoming more and more integrated with this technology. And it's very obvious when you look at the signs and you see what is going on around us. But a lot of people are also oblivious to it because with each generation that comes in, more and more people are already integrated with this technology. So they already are very familiar with it and they have knowledge of how to operate this technology at a younger and younger age. So transhumanism is essentially a merge of humans and machines. That's essentially what the goal is, what the aim is meant to do. And some people are very much in favor of this, other people oppose it. Now, the thing is, with technology, humans merging with technology, this has multiple meanings. This means not only humans integrating with technology, as in like your phone, your computer, the internet, not just that, but also genetic modification of human DNA and animal DNA and plant DNA. So it's all constructed in a way that humans control everything. Humans are the ones that create life at that point. They essentially become God and play life and control the genes and edit the genes to be a certain way. So with that, you can silence certain genes so there's no longer this disease or this illness. And you can also make certain traits more prominent, like such as beauty characteristics, or maybe you want to be able to build muscle mass quicker. You'll be able to do that with genetic modification via CRISPR, which you can essentially buy online and do it yourself if you know how to do that. So these are all things that are already here, that are already part of humans. And for some people, this is a very scary thing. They don't want it to happen. Other people are very much for it. But the ultimate thing is that whatever side you're on, it doesn't really matter because this is what is intended. This is what is going to happen. This is the future of the humans, human species, human race. It will be merging with technology. So if you have any questions regarding this, please feel free to ask them. I see a lot of comments already. Thank you very much for, leaving these comments here. So yes, for me personally, I was very much against this, and I'm not going to say that I'm for this either, but here's the thing. I realized that this is an inevitable future. I realized that where we live now, as we are now, this is what is intended. So knowing this information and knowing that this is what it's meant to be for very specific reasons, which we will discuss in a future video, then it all makes sense. And I've never been one to fight for something. I'm not an activist of any kind. I do not fight for certain things. I am merely a observer to watch how things proceed and to watch how things go, to see if it unfolds the way that I have seen it up to this point. And the one interesting thing is, many years ago, I had a lot of these ideas and thoughts about surveillance, people monitoring. For what reason were they monitoring? For what reasons were they gathering this information and collecting this information on users of social media, on people watching TV, all that sort of stuff? So to me, that made me very paranoid back then. And then I realized, this is not just a conspiracy, because I don't believe in conspiracy theories, because a lot of people will say, this is just a conspiracy theory. None of this has been proven true. And the thing is, all the so-called conspiracy theories that I believed back when I was younger, they have all essentially become a reality. They are all essentially true at this point. They've come out with information that shows that this is what's actually been going on for quite some time. So there's not been any conspiracy theory that I've seen that has not been proven at this point in my life from a lot of the information that I've gathered. Okay, Coconut Water says, people call these things conspiracy theories to discredit you and make you look crazy. Yes, indeed, that's exactly what it is. Ultimately, people who call these things conspiracy theories or don't look into the information themselves are people who have not bothered to do any research, who are relying on mainstream news sources and information and science and all of that to prove to them that this is the world. Whereas these mainstream news sources and information essentially put someone into a bubble. They put a dome around you to shield you from what's going on outside, so you are not aware of what's going on outside. And that's essentially what the majority of people are. The majority of people believe a lot of these lies that have been told in history, have been told in news media, have been told in various science classes and various professions within healthcare. So they believe those lies without questioning them because it must be from a reputable source if it's been proven with science, if it's someone who's a doctor, if it's someone who's a scientist, and all these information here. So a lot of people believe that because they trust it, because they don't want to bother looking at any alternative views. Because any alternative views to them is, doesn't make any sense to them because it's completely irrelevant. Because they don't identify with it because that's not what they've learned. So, yes. And yes, please feel free, if anyone has any questions about this, please feel free to let me know here and I will answer them. This is an open discussion. We have any kind of questions that you may have, or anyone else who may have any questions, please direct them this way. We can discuss them and see what people who are watching this are thinking and saying, and yeah, we'll go from there. Okay. Some people are just closed-minded. Yes, indeed. The thing is, a lot of people are very closed-minded because reality is what you make it. Reality is from your perspective. Whatever you experience in your life is your reality. My reality and your reality are two completely different things. They are not even remotely related, besides the fact that we are living in this existence for a very specific purpose. And yeah, it's very, people only really go by what they know in life, and that may sound very self-centered, but that's just how it is. So hello to everyone who just joined, Luke and Nesya. Okay, so we have a question here from, just a moment, get this on the screen for you, from Mojo. Do you think transhumanism will result in androids taking over? Well, this is a very interesting question here, because transhumanism is about merging with technology, humans merging with technology. Most of the time I hear people fearing about robots and technology taking over independently of humans. Like, there's been various oh, thank you very much, Isaac. You are a cool person. Thank you very much for the super chat. I'm very grateful for that. Thank you very much. So, in regard to androids taking over, I'm sure some of you may have heard that there are people who, well, there are these robots who, I think there was a Microsoft one who had a Twitter account, and they programmed it a certain way, and then it started to spout off, I think, like racial, started being like a racist to people and replying back, saying all these hateful, mean things to people, because it got a bit out of control, and the programmers didn't know why this was going on, so they had to shut it down. And I think there's also, I don't know what the name of it is, but there's another robot now that is talking about like equal rights for robots. So there is a difference between transhumanism, which is a merger of humans and machine, and then just strictly humans and just strictly machine. Strictly machine is your phone, your computer. Oh, well, thank you again, Isaac. I'm very grateful for your support, and I'm very thankful that you are contributing to this information that is going out, contributing to me to help bring more information here. Thank you very much. So yes, there is a difference between humans, transhumans, and just technology. So once you differentiate those, then I don't think it's so much about transhumanism, androids taking over. It's more about humans will begin to be kind of phased out, because the transhumans will rise more to power, and then ultimately, I can't sit here and say, what about androids? What about things that are strictly machine, that there's no human whatsoever involved? I do not know the answer to that question, so. Okay. Okay, so we got another question here from Coconut Walrus. And this one is, what kind of technologies do you predict will be made that you don't want to come to fruition? Well, it doesn't matter what I believe will come to fruition or what I don't want to see, but ultimately, whatever I don't want to see is what is going to happen regardless. So it's out of my control, and I am not pushing for any kind of try to control any of it. But let's just say that we are very close to essentially integrating with technology in a way that you have your smartphone. It's with you all the time. You use it all the time. Imagine not having that anymore. Imagine that being inside here. Imagine that you having a chip inside you and you being able to access the internet anytime you want, being able to reply to messages anytime you want. That is what the future will bring at a certain point. It'll first start with external devices that, maybe you wear some kind of device that you can physically see, and you'll be able to utilize those capabilities. Then it'll be a chip implanted. There have already been ways to implant chips into your body that will essentially offer you a way to store your ID and information like that. So you don't have to carry your phone around with you all the time. You have your ID right there with you all the time. So it's part of you. It's who you are now. You're not free anymore from that. Okay. Okay, we have another question here. Okay, Jana says, what really is transhumanism? And you just joined. Well, thank you for coming to the stream here. This is a very interesting topic, I think, for a lot of people. Transhumanism. Transhumanism is essentially merging with technology. This can be technology as in robots, like your phone, your computer, or it can be genetic modification of human DNA to use science to further the evolution of humans. Both of these will and are the very future of human beings. And here's a very related question from I do not Gatia. Okay, so is transhumanism like a cyborg sort of thing? Yes and no. Cyborg become robot, but also, as I mentioned, that genetic modification aspect to enhance evolution and to control human evolution via science and technology, using any kind of technological advancements, using that to further evolve humans via nature determining it. That's essentially what transhumanism is. Okay. So, Coconut Walrus says, we're talking about those chips. And yes, this is exactly what I mean. You mean like RFID chips. Yes, that's exactly, I forget exactly what that stands for, radio frequency identification, maybe? Yes, they are chips that you can voluntarily get implanted into your, I forget exactly where it is, maybe it's somewhere in your hand usually, but they would track and monitor you, and you could, you know, that'll be your identification. You don't need an ID card, you don't need a cell phone, you have all your information right there. Okay, Timothy says, you are afraid of this and should not be not going to hurt you. Was someone afraid? Okay. If someone is afraid of this future of transhumanism, it's... Unfortunately, there really isn't anything you can do about that. Because people are... This is essentially what the future is going to bring. I mean, you can look around and you see it happening already. I mean, just think, 10 years ago, you didn't have people like this all the time. Now it's like people just walking around the street, in their car, on their bicycle, just nonstop. I don't see at any point people not on this. I always see people on that at all times. Eating family dinner, you're on it. At a restaurant, you're on it. At a concert, you're on it. When you're supposed to be working, you're on it. When you're supposed to be doing other things, you're on it. You're on it nonstop. So, honestly, I would say there's really nothing to be scared about. It's just, you should live however you wish to be happy and whatever is best for you. Technology makes us very depressed, very sad, feel very lonely and isolated. So when you realize that and take a break from all social media, take a break from your phone, take a break from the technology, then you begin to realize what life is really about. And that is enjoying life and experiencing it for what it is, not being addicted to taking selfies and adding filters on your pictures and playing all these games on your phone and Snapchat and Facebook and Twitter and Instagram and all this. It's a distraction. So when you realize it's a distraction and you take a break from it, a lot of more happiness will come into your life that you may have been lost with social media. Okay, let's see what else we got here. Okay, I do apologize if I missed some of your questions because I had a lot of comments come in from that previous comment that I had here. Okay. Genetic modification relates to genetic modification is the next step. Okay, what was that in reply to here? Coconut Walrus. Okay, eugenics falls under the transhumanist umbrella. Interesting. What do you all think about that? Eugenics falling under the transhumanist umbrella. Yes, I would Hang on, let me get that on. This isn't really a question, but this is an interesting one to bring up. So, eugenics is essentially, essentially what transhumanism is. It's about controlling the population by ridding off certain things. It's a way to control diseases and certain traits of the population via other people doing it. So if science says we want to get rid of this disorder, this disease, that's essentially controlling the human population in a way that's getting rid of the diversity of humans. So if you want to get rid of this disease that may not even be that bad, and it may be what makes some people more diverse and unique, you get rid of that. You get rid of the diversity there. It's like, no, you're not worthy of being in the future. You're not worthy of breeding and reproducing because you have faulty DNA. So you change that via editing the DNA. Okay. Okay, Luke says, my phone is the way to escape from people because I have social anxiety. You know, this is a very good point to make here. I think a lot of people escape using technology in some way. People go online and watch videos. People play games. And people use a lot of distractions. And distractions, I say there's two different kinds of distractions. There's positive distractions and there's negative distractions. A positive distraction from depression and anxiety is primarily keeping yourself occupied, making yourself happy with these other things. It could be playing a game, it could be watching a show, it could be reading a book, it could be meditation, it could be whatever you want it to be, exercise even. You know, I can't say exercise is better than reading a book, that reading a book is better than watching a show, that watching a show is better than playing a game, because all of them are different for different people. As long as it helps you, that is what matters. But the ultimate thing is, you have to look at escape. That word escape. You're escaping from something, maybe because you don't want to deal with it, or it's too difficult to deal with. Oops, sorry. Because maybe it's too difficult to deal with. So I think a better way of looking at it is, you may be dealing with it a certain way, and if it's a positive way for you, then that's a good thing. But to escape from something, to not deal with it, to not tackle it, that is a negative situation there. So a distraction could be good if you're feeling a certain way, to occupy your time, but escaping from something and denying it and blocking it out, that will bring more of it into your life, unfortunately. That's how it is. Okay. So we have a few more things here. Okay, so I'm trying to find the original comment here, because I see someone said something. I'm going to take a quick look. Okay. Okay, here we go. So I found the original comment from Nessia. This is a very good topic. This is a very good point to make up here. Yes. In your video on transhumanism, you were talking about it cutting off that spiritual and psychic part of our nature. Can you talk a bit more about that? Yes. This is an interesting one because here's the thing. Okay. We will talk much more about this in my next 2 videos, which will wrap up this 5-part series. The next 2 are going to reveal what all this has been leading up to. But essentially, here's basically what I was trying to say about this. Okay. Let's say you are thinking of someone and someone is thinking of you, and you have like this moment of whoa, this person is thinking about me, I'm thinking about them. There's always some sort of connection that we have to other people that is not of this physical domain that we reside in. It is something that science often cannot explain, because we have much more to us than what we physically see. What we physically see, this is our physical body. That there is much more that makes up our physical body than what we see. There is so much more that we don't understand about not just our physical bodies and how they operate and how we are integrated into this world, but also the whole other aspect that we cannot see, that we don't understand. So essentially, this physical world that we live in is all about physical, if you notice that. Let me show you here. So I have the phone here. If I wanted to send a message to someone, without any second thought at all, I would just, okay, I'm just going to send a message to someone here. I'm not even going to think about it. There you go. Whereas if I really think hard enough and I learn and practice skills of being able to focus and concentrate, I could essentially send that message to someone, and they would be able to pick up on that without sending any text message. It would all be via the energy of the mind going to this other person. Now, of course, some people were like, well, that doesn't make, you can't prove that. It doesn't make any sense. And that's exactly the point that I'm making, because you can't prove it, because there is no way to prove that, because we live in this physical world and it's all about physical. Here's another example. We are so dependent on technology that we put all our trust and memory into this device right here. If, for example, I have multiple scheduled meetings on my calendar, instead of remembering what they are, I'm like, okay, what is for this week? I'm gonna check. Okay, I may have checked it 100 times and I still don't remember, because I'm so dependent. I don't let myself remember it. So that in itself is essentially, you're putting all your trust and ability into here, versus using your mind. Using your mind, which has all the answers that you may not know about, instead putting it into something that will remember it for you. So you're essentially replacing your own abilities inside your mind that you have to learn how to use, and learn how to, it's like learning a lesson in school. You want to learn math, you have to learn it. You can't just expect to know it. You can't just use the calculator. That's essentially what I'm making here, the point that I'm making here. Instead of learning math, instead of learning the skills to utilize your own brain effectively, you just go on here and use whatever's on your phone and the calendar and the calculator without even giving it a second thought. You don't bother learning, so you don't have those skills. So, which means those skills don't exist for you because you don't know how to use them. Okay. That's essentially what I was trying to make there. Okay. Okay, so Luke asks, do you think that those kinds of connections that you just talked about really exist? Here's the thing about that. What my experience is could be completely different from your experience. There are plenty of people who have had these experiences, who have had these experiences of, I had a dream about something and then it came true. Many times. You know, people have those experiences. I've had those experiences. I've had many dreams that have come true. I've had many premonitions that have come true. When I meditate and I relax my mind, these answers come to me. I write them down. I make note of them. I even turn some into a video. And then sure enough, when I actually research that topic at a later time, because I usually, a lot of times for some of the videos, depending on what it is, the information comes to me. I know what the information is already. And then when I research it and I look into it, all the information is already there. I already knew it by tapping into this ability that I have, by learning that ability. And it's the same thing with any other thing. You just have to learn those abilities. We have unlimited potential by learning those abilities. The only thing that holds us back, and it's two things, is our ego mindset that says, no, you can't do it, such as doubt. That's the number one thing. Because when we doubt ourselves, even if it's just a subconscious doubt, like, let's just say someone wants to learn how to levitate. We've all learned that that's like really not a possibility. You can't really do that. And no matter how much you try to get rid of that frame of thinking in your mind that you can't do that, it'll always be there, which will deter you from actually doing it. It's very hard to change that thinking, especially if it's been ingrained in your mind and you don't know anything about that. So that's one of the things that holds us back. And the other thing that holds us back, and I kind of lost my train of thought here, unfortunately. Let's see, so it's our doubt that holds us back. I guess just our knowledge and our lack of skill to be able to do it. I think there was another one too. I forget exactly what that was, but yeah, ultimately, when you have the experiences, you know the reality of the situation. It's the same thing as people who have had ghost encounters or UFO encounters. For them, it's very real. And they may seem crazy for thinking it. It's like, wow, I must be insane for having this experience. I must have schizophrenia. I must be having these delusions, and I'm hallucinating, and all of these sorts of things. But when other people in the household start to experience it as well, it's like, okay, well, maybe that's not just in my mind. Maybe it's something actually going on. So when you have those experiences, people who do, it's very real to them. So they understand it a lot better than people who have never had those experiences. So, yes, it's these types of connections exist very much, but our inability to experience them and understand them and actually utilize them is what prevents us from truly understanding them and utilizing them. Instead, we usually utilize what is of this physical domain, which is technology. And this is what's intended, and this is what we will be talking about in the next two videos, which will go on about physical and non-physical domains. So we will get into that very soon. That was a very good question. Thank you very much for asking that, Luke. Okay. Okay. Okay, so let's see what other question we have here. Yes, I'm very glad I could answer that. Okay. Okay, so here is actually a good one from Lindsay, and I certainly understand you here. Oh, some of it got cut off. Let me this is going to be a long question, so I think I'll go in parts, but you can see some of what she said here. It's going off the screen. Okay. I use my mind so much that I have to use my phone to record my thoughts because I have so many when I'm creating that I have to go back and reference that I didn't even start to have a creative expansion of mind that I actually had fun and worked on until after I had my so-called mystic experience. So couldn't quite fully understand that, but from the beginning part here, from the beginning part here where you mentioned that you had to use your phone to record thoughts because you have so many thoughts when you're creating. Yes, this is very much the case for, I think, a lot of creative people, including myself. I have a lot of these creative thoughts, and you can use your phone or you can write it down, or you can do whatever you can to get these creative thoughts out because creativity comes to you naturally. When you have these creative thoughts, it's like you could have random thoughts at random times, especially, I find, especially when I'm relaxed or when I'm trying to go to bed or any kind of other moment, where I have to essentially write something down usually on the phone. Like if I'm working on a specific video, I'll be going to that document that I'm working on, and I'll just write down various notes. And I have these ideas in my head, and I'll write down the various notes, and then at a later point, I will go back to them and expand upon them. So essentially, when I'm creating a video, it's essentially just like 20 different bulletin points. Not really bulletin points, more like paragraphs, like 20 different paragraphs in all this weird order that I have to piece together and then fill in the blanks. And then it's like, oh, now that all makes sense. So that's kind of how it comes to me. I get all these puzzle pieces. How do they all fit? And then I make them all fit. So writing them down on your phone or recording them, like talking. If you're recording, you're talking into your phone, you're recording your thoughts, you have your eyes closed, I find, allowing it all to flow out and then transcribe it later. It's all very beneficial. Okay. So, okay, we got another question here from Coconut Walrus. What is your opinions on certain drugs' ability to take your mind to different realities, states of conscious? Yes, there are certainly a lot of psychedelic drugs that can alter people's mind and their ego state to be in a different state of mind. I'm not going to say do them or don't do them. That's not my place to say that. I've never done them. I have no interest in doing them. I mean, I think it would be interesting to, I guess, experience some of these things, but it doesn't really matter. But ultimately, there are people who use drugs in multiple ways. You can use it to escape your reality because you can't cope with reality. And then there are other people who use it for a very intended purpose, such as a purpose to get in touch with themselves on a deeper level, to answer a question that they don't know the answer to. So yes, there are a variety of things that people do and take to enhance this experience. So my opinion is, it doesn't matter to me. You can do whatever you want to do because it's your life to do these things. Now, ultimately, perhaps it is best to really think it through and see what your end goal is versus just rushing into something. But I think that comes with people who are actually going for this experience. So yes, that's up to you to decide. Okay, we have another question here. And this one is, what are your thoughts about the future of bioengineering? Another name for genetic engineering. Altering the species that has been here. Genetic engineering is already taking place. My question to you is, what is it? Do you know? Do you know what is already being genetically engineered at this point? If you say just GMOs, genetically modified organisms, like food and crops, which there are a handful of, not every food and vegetable and fruit and vegetable and plant is genetically modified. There's, how many are there? I want to say under 20. But there are genetically modified, fruits and vegetables. Big ones are soy, corn, wheat, and cotton. Those are like the top 4. They are genetically modified, like let's say corn, for example. It's genetically modified, so when an insect goes to eat the corn, their stomachs explode. The corn produces a natural, I wouldn't say natural, the corn produces its own insecticide, so that explodes the insect's stomach when they eat it. Apparently that doesn't happen to humans, but you know how the science around GMOs is. It's very faulty. So, what is the future of genetic engineering? Here is the future of genetic engineering. GMOs, as well as vaccines for humans, will be phased out via genetic modification, gene editing, to be precise, via CRISPR. What you do is you remove a certain gene from something and you replace it with something else. And that is what will replace vaccines and GMOs sometime down the line. I've always said that, with vaccines, there would not, even if there is so much evidence that comes out about them being damaging in some way, which there are certainly a lot of evidence that shows certain things there. With certain ones, you can't just group them all in together. Certain ones are on a different level than other ones. That's besides the point. If all that information were to come out, yet it was still, being very recommended, ultimately, it's all going to be covered until there's a replacement. Once there's a replacement, sometime down the line, then all that information about the dangers of it will be coming out to the public. And it will all be shown as we realize now all of the situation about this. And it's like, well, we've always known that. You just decided not to come out with that information back then because you knew people would stop doing it, which would cause some issues with the agenda that is being pushed, this transhumanist agenda. So it's all integrated into that as well. That's all part of the plan as well. So yes, that is genetic engineering, CRISPR. That is the future. CRISPR via editing your baby's DNA before they're even born. That is what will happen. Yep, it's already happening, so. Oh, yes, okay, so I see a question here. Jessica asks, what's your opinion on cloning people, and do you think that will happen in this lifetime, 100 years? And Coconut War says it's already happening, yes. And indeed, there are various things that are already happening. There are people who are... There's definitely plenty of experiences being done. There's also experiments being done to genetically grow certain animals, like embryotically, an embryo growing via genetic modification, in a way that then they bring in human DNA. So it's a cross between, let's say, a pig and a human. You have that DNA together to create a human pig. So yes, it's all happening there. Okay, let me put on my foil hat. There's no reason to put on any foil hat here. I'm not sure what you're referring to. If you think any of this information has not been already done, then I would suggest that you look into this information, because the information is there. It really is all there. None of these are conspiracy theories. If you think something is a conspiracy theory, then I would heavily research the topic a bit more. Looks like your picture is SpongeBob too. So yes, SpongeBob lives under the sea. He doesn't know what is above the sea. So he's being, he can't see what is going on around him. So yeah, that's how it is. Okay. In New Zealand, a lot of our sheep are cloned to stop diseases. Interesting. Modified pigs to use as organ donors, yes. All of it is happening. It's just, if people don't, the human pig happened already, yes, indeed. Happened in the 50s, yeah. So, yeah, ultimately, if you don't know something is not happening or happening, it doesn't mean that it's not. Living a SpongeBob analogy, yes. The SpongeBob one was pretty good. I'm glad you enjoyed the SpongeBob talk. Okay, so if you have any other questions here, I'll be on for by about another 10 minutes or so. So yes, I do want to thank you all for tuning in about this topic of transhumanism. If you're just now tuning in, Yes, transhumanism is essentially what the future of the human race will bring, a merger of humans and technology. That technology being like a cyborg, like robotic parts, like being in a robot body but having a human brain inside of it. It could be like that, or it could also be genetic modification, using any kind of technology to further the evolution of the human race, as opposed to letting nature do it. That's essentially what transhumanism is. So, yes, that is what we are discussing if you're just now tuning in. Okay. Okay, here's an interesting question from Iris. What are your thoughts on extraterrestrial implants? I'm not quite sure I understand what you mean. Extraterrestrial implants. What kind of implants are we talking about? Is it implants that you get for to like that extraterrestrials or these aliens implant in you to track you after an abduction? If you're referring to that, then I do not have much knowledge on that. I cannot really speak about that. So what are my thoughts on it? I honestly cannot really tell you because I have not have much knowledge in that aspect of what goes on in the world. Okay. Now, of course, there's always a reason for it, so there's always a reason. I guess we kind of touch on that to some degree, but to a much greater degree, in the very near future, about well, why would these aliens want to track humans? Perhaps all this time there have been human beings are an experiment for them, so they're gathering that data. That's essentially what I have seen, but not so much in that way, to a different degree, which we would talk about soon. But yes, that all makes sense there. That would be the case. Of course, that's right. It's out of the realm of possibility, right? Because just because we don't understand it, just because we don't know about it, doesn't mean it's not happening. Because certainly to be so small in this universe, in this huge universe, our whole planet is so trivial in comparison to the size of the universe. And our existence is even smaller than that of the entire universe. So of course, it's only realistic to think that there will be other form of life out there in the universe, if not in a different universe. So, yeah, interesting thoughts there. But of course, a lot of human beings are very narcissistic in believing that we are the only intelligent life that there ever was and ever existed. But, you know, that's just how it is. If that's what you want to believe, that's on you. But know that we don't know everything in the universe, so how can we make that assumption? We hardly even understand ourselves, so how can we understand everything else around us? How can we understand what's outside the universe that we do not see? How can we understand what we cannot physically see in this physical dimension of X, Y, Z coordinates? Okay, so Ellen asks, what are your thoughts on reptilians? I am somewhat familiar with that, but again, that kind of ties into the alien thing. You can rope in with that. I really don't have much thought on that. I really don't have much information on that. I cannot really speak about that, unfortunately. Okay. Yeah, Ira says, implants have come from abductees, mind control, tracking. Yes, that's kind of what I figured. Okay. Do you think people are capable of sensing electromagnetic energy? Yira asks. Interesting. I think we are all capable of sensing various things depending on what it is. We can sense something that is out of our understanding. We may sense something that we do not understand, or we may sense something like that. So ultimately, I would say it depends on the person. I think some people are much more sensitive than others to understand certain things. So I wouldn't say that it is not a possibility. I would say it certainly is a possibility to some degree with some people. Okay. And I think a good question to pretty much wrap it up on, although I think I would take one more question after this. So whatever you're saying, you can send it when I answer this one. Jessica says, I don't think we'll ever all have the answers. The universe is forever changing. There is no way us human beings, being so trivial and small to this entire universe, such a very small aspect of this universe, we individually are a very small aspect of this world, Earth, let alone the galaxy, let alone the universe, let alone what is beyond that. So we are so tiny in comparison to all that, we will never know all the answers. It is impossible. We will never know. We think we know. Science thinks that it knows. People who study science, who are doctors, who have these various degrees and say, I studied science, I know all the answers about this and that, and you don't. You know less than 0.0000001% of what is actually going on. So, new things come out all the time, and with the new information, it could completely prove something else wrong. So we would never know the answers. There's no way to ever know the answers, and I'm not counting on us ever knowing the answers. And I will answer one more question. This is a good one. Okay, so I will answer two more, including, well, one more after this one here. So if you have any questions, send it now, and I will see whatever next question I have right after I answer this one. Thoughts on being able to transfer the mind into a humanoid robot by 2050 without any organic tissue. This is interesting because we're approaching 2020. We're about 30 years away from this. I will be alive for this. And I'm sure many of you, if you're around my age, maybe a little older, maybe a little younger, you would be alive for this, I would imagine, unless, something else happens to the world or us individually. Honestly, I can't give a time frame for all these things. I do not know the time frame. I do not know if it'll be sooner rather than later. But indeed, this will happen at some point. By 2050, 30 years from now, we're talking older than me. We're talking about double my life right now and more. So, yeah, I do not know. I think we possibly could be there, if not further along than that. I do not know. I do not know. But this will require what? Do you mean the mind is in the human brain, or you said organic tissue, so no other tissue, no other organs even, like transferring a digital copy of the mind, because that would be much more feasible. It would be more feasible if you implant a tracking device in a newborn, have it analyze all the data, all the human data and human experience until they're old, and then take that chip out and say, this is a human life. This is the equivalent in data of what this human being experienced and what they sensed and how they reacted to things and how they had anxiety and depression during certain things, how their emotions fluctuate. Then you just plug that into this robot and there you go, and then it's that human. I can see that much more feasible than taking a brain out of a human and putting that into a body. And I think that is probably the way it would go. It would be implanting of chips to monitor the human and then implant that into a robot to be a human, but it's not a human. It's data collected of that human. Okay, and our final question. Who has a question for me? Okay. Okay, I think it's not really a question, but I think it's a good note to end it on before we begin our next video in the very near future. Sometimes I think we are in a simulation like a video game. Very good one. Because many people think as well that we are some kind of experiment in some way. That we are just little bytes of data on someone's computer program who is monitoring us and seeing, you know, what other type of activity is going on. Now this very closely ties into what is my next topic, my next two topics, because they intertwine together. So I will leave you on a cliffhanger in that regard. Yeah, so you got to think about what your thoughts are on that. Do you think that is feasible, or do you think it's out of the realm of possibility? Because I will share my thoughts much more thoroughly in the next two parts. Yep. So this has concluded our transhumanism talk today. I am very glad that you all came here. I'm very thankful. Thank you very much for coming to the stream. This was very wonderful. I'm very, very glad that I could have this discussion with you all, and you all came here and you could talk about all these things, and it was a wonderful conversation. So please feel free also to check out my website, automacedo.com, where I have all my videos and everything related to them. You can sign up for my free email newsletter to be notified whenever I post new videos earlier than I do on YouTube. You'll get also notified when I am going to do a live stream. So yes, that is a much better way to follow me than social media and a YouTube, because YouTube, even if you have notifications turned on, they don't always go out. I had this happen to me the other day when I posted a video. A lot of people didn't get it. No idea why. It just happened. And then I wasn't getting other people's notifications of people that I follow. I was like, okay, I don't know. So yes, I'm very thankful for your support. I'm very thankful for you spreading this message. If you're able to share this message in any way, to have your friends watch it, to have your friends understand this message, I'm very, very thankful for all of that. I'm very grateful for all your support. If you donate at all to me on Patreon or any of the other sites that I have, even on YouTube, there's like a sponsor thing. And I'm very thankful for all that support, because it helps bring more of these discussions that a lot of people don't want to have, a lot of people may not be aware of. It allows it to come to the surface so more people are aware. And I'm very, very thankful for the super chats that I got today. And I'm very thankful for Isaac, who sent these super chats to me, because, you know, I honestly really do not get very many. So yes, I'm very thankful for all that. So thank you all so very much for coming today, and I will talk to you all very, very soon for my next topic, okay? I will talk to you all later. Bye-bye.